What challenges did you face in running a small business, and how did you overcome them?
Well, like anything else, you learn on the job. I was trained in college with marketing, but then as you come and you work, you find different ways to meet and greet people and introduce pierogies. Here, everybody knows what a pierogi is. It's wonderful, but there's two kind of people in the world: people who know what a pierogi is and are passionate about them, and then there are people who have no idea what a pierogi is, and you have to
So you
introduce
need
it
to
to them.
educate people about it.
And what we were doing was a lot of sampling. So I'd go out to supermarkets and do in-store sampling. You know, as if we got somebody to taste a pierogi, you got them as a customer. So the problem, of course, when you go to a grocery store, you can only see 100 or so people, and there's a lady coming down the aisle. You say, "Would you try a pierogi?" She goes, "No, I've got to go, and I've got to get a bag, of fruit, and you're in my way. Get out." So what we found out is we did a lot of event marketing, where I found I could take the pierogies to an event and sample and meet a lot more people. So instead of seeing 100 or 150 people in a supermarket, I could go to an event in a community, maybe a little 5K race. So all
Oh,
these athletes show up, and after their race, I could prepare hot pierogies. I could see 500 or 1,000 people, and they were pretty excited about getting something besides a banana. And we talked about high carbohydrate, low fat training food, perfect for athletes. And we found a niche to play with the triathletes, because these people swim, bike, and run, have a great appetite, and they would eat a lot of pierogies, a box at a time, no leftovers, my kind of customer. So we did a lot of that. And then we also learned that in event marketing, if you went with a charity, such as Race for the Cure, which raises money to promote breast cancer awareness and work toward a cure. We did that in Philadelphia at the base of the Art Museum steps. So where everybody ran up to see Rocky, I was at the bottom cooking pierogies for about 5 or 7,000 people who did this walk. And they were happy because they had a warm pierogi after their walk, and they also thought that Mrs. T supports breast cancer research. That's a good company. So I'm under the umbrella of my partner. And we had done research with some focus groups. So what you do is you pick about, several people. They come into a conference room. You go behind a mirror, a one-way mirror, and you watch what's going on and eat M&Ms while they're all asking questions. And they asked a woman, like, when was the first time you had a pierogi? And she goes, oh, it was at the Race for the Cure. And it's like, oh, that's pretty neat. So he sent a little note in, and she said, well, she got there. There was a big line. She stood in line, had a pierogi. It was terrific. And she's been buying them ever since. And the race had just happened the week before. And we said, well, did you go to the pierogi stand? She goes, no, there was a big line, so I just went home and made my own box of Mrs. T's. And I turned to my brother and I said, we haven't been at that race for 3 years. But she remembers the first pierogi she had was 4 or 5 years ago. And she sees a big line. That must be the pierogi line. I'm going to make my own. So
oh,
it captures them, and they're very loyal. And as long as you're helping their cause, they feel pretty good, and it all works out well. And we turned that into an interesting program where we went to Buffalo and we did a taste of Buffalo. And that's a hard job to spend half a dozen days in a big city and finding staff and making it all work. What we did there, we actually were able to work with a charity. I think it was a cystic fibrosis group. And it's like, okay, if you supply me manpower, we will sell the pierogies, and you get to keep all the money. Because the first, pierogi you give away costs a lot of money to drive and pack and set up everything. But after that, it's
yeah.
just sunk cost. But if you get a volunteer group, I'm not paying for hotels, I'm not paying for employees, and there's nobody more motivated than people who can raise money for their cause. So they're out getting people to try a pierogi, and the $3 that you pay me, we all get to keep. It's like, absolutely. So it worked out really well, and we were tied into the ABC affiliate. So they had their talking heads, and people were happy, but they also had a chance to eat a pierogi. So everybody won.
The company's goal was to educate people on pierogies. They tried sampling in a grocery store, which didn't work because the few people they saw were always in a rush and didn't want the pierogies. So they tried event marketing, and they took the pierogies to a race, and people love getting a nice warm pierogi instead of a banana at the end of a race. They also took the pierogies to the Rocky Steps in Philadelphia, and being associated with breast cancer research um, made people trust them. Also, getting a cystic fibrosis charity group to keep the profits they got from selling pierogies made that group work very hard to sell the pierogies, making Mrs. T's even more well known. The event marketing was just genius, and even better mixing with the idea of supporting research for good causes. Innovative marketing might just have been the difference between a good company and a great company.